You're wasting your life on computer games. That's what my father said to me. In front of the entire boardroom. I'm Brandon Keane. I'm 27 years old. And that moment sitting at a long mahogany table, surrounded by portraits of men in suits who shared my last name, was the moment I knew I would never be one of them. The room reeked of legacy, polished wood, old money, faded paintings of grandfathers who built something that everyone in my family was supposed to inherit except me, because I didn't want to be part of the dynasty. I was building my own empire of code, caffeine, and a laptop. My father, Philip Keane, leaned across the table in his Navy power suit. Brandon, you passed the bar. You've got the degree. You've got the pedigree. What more do you need? I wanted to scream. Instead, I smiled politely. What I needed was for him to understand that Ridgecore Systems, my tech startup, wasn't a toy, while he charged $300 an hour to review contracts. My software was reviewing thousands of documents in under 10 minutes. But to him, just computer games. Every Sunday dinner, every holiday, every phone call, they all had one goal: bring Brandon back into the fold. He saw me as a prodigal son with potential that just needed to be realigned. I was the heir to his firm, Keane and Sons. The and Sons part. It was me, but I had other plans. While he built his empire in courtrooms, I built mine in code. While he lived in rules and tradition, I moved in speed, automation, and disruption. Still, I tried to keep the peace. I smiled through the passive-aggressive compliments. I let him introduce me as my son, the future partner, even though I'd never once said I wanted to be a lawyer. Then my mother Donna walks in, heels clicking. Across the hardwood, she used to be the firm's bookkeeper, back when Keane & Sons was just Keenan. Hope. She pours coffee like she's sealing contracts with every drop. Are you boys talking about Brandon's future? She asked, as if I wasn't even there. We're trying to, Philip muttered. But your son thinks coding is more important than continuing the family business. He said coding the same way someone might say gambling addiction. I took a sip of that coffee. It tasted like disappointment, and that's when something in me cracked. Not anger, just ... clarity. They didn't see the long nights I spent building. Ridgecore didn't see the first Cleonta, desperate solo lawyer who couldn't afford junior associates, didn't see the first version of my tool that could scan and sort legal documents using optical recognition to them. I was just keeping busy. To me, I was fixing an entire broken system. Law firms were paying armies of baby lawyers to do grunt work my software could do better, faster, and cheaper. It wasn't innovation. It was justice, efficiency, evolution. By my third year of law school, Ridgecore was pulling in more revenue than most junior lawyers made in 5 years. But that wasn't real success, not to them. They noticed the new car, the upgraded condo, the fact I never asked for money, but instead of asking how, they just assumed it was a phase. I became a character in their fantasy, the son who would grow out of this and take his rightful place beside his father. Last month, Philip had business cards printed. Brandon Keane, associate attorney. He handed them to me like a trophy. Just in case you change your mind, he said. I threw them in my drawer, unopened. They didn't understand that I wasn't rebelling. I was rising. 3 weeks after our conversation in the boardroom, he called me in for a strategy meeting. I knew what that meant. When I entered, I saw it, a thick folder on his desk. My mother already seated. Serious faces, He pushed the folder across to me. Junior partnership agreement. Not an offer, not a maybe. It had my name typed on it. Signature. Lines filled in. 15% stake. Full benefits. No associate years. Immediate title. Junior partner. 15% of a law firm worth $2 million. Not bad. Not by most standards. But I was sitting on a tech company valued at $60 million. With acquisition offers pending. This wasn't a dream. It was a lifeline. They were scared. This wasn't about helping me. This was about preserving them. Their legacy was dying, and I was the only heir who might keep it alive. They thought they were saving me from drowning, but I wasn't drowning. I was building a jet ski, so I told them I'd think about it. And that night, alone in my apartment, I opened 2 emails. One from my dad. Hope you make the right choice. The other, from Austin. $60 million acquisition. Final details. Confirmation Ridgecore was sold, and I had the majority stake. I didn't sleep that night, but by morning, I knew exactly what I had to do. That evening, I drove to my parents' house in Wilmette for what I knew would be our last family dinner for a long time. The irony, my dad had opened a bottle of aged wine. My mum made pot roast. My favorite. They were celebrating. A victory that hadn't happened yet. Have you had a chance to review the partnership documents? My dad asked, casually stabbing a piece of meat with his knife. I have. My mum leaned in, her voice laced with hope, and I looked at both of them. I'm not going to join the firm. The kind that wraps around a dinner table like fog. Philip's knife stopped mid-cut. Dana's wineglass froze in her hand. I'm sorry, I repeated, but I'm going to continue building my company. For a moment, I thought the room might explode, but it didn't, single quotes, and it froze. Then came the storm. You're walking away from everything we've built. My dad said, incredulous. Ridgecore isn't a side project, Dad. We're working with Fortune 500 clients. We've got 43 employees. Last month alone, we processed contract reviews worth over $200 million. My mother's tone sharpened. So, you're doing paralegal work. We're building automation tools, I said calmly. We're streamlining a broken legal system. You're replacing people, my father snapped. You're putting people out of work. I stood up slowly, napkin falling from my lap. You want to know what I really think? Their eyes locked on mine. I think you're scared. I think, you know, the industry is changing instead of evolving. You'd rather pretend it's not happening. How dare you? My father's voice was cold, controlled. You've spent years billing clients for work that should have been automated. You've built your career on inefficiency. I'm just calling it out. My mum slammed her hand on the table. That's enough. No, it's not. I looked directly at my father. You're not offering me a partnership because you believe in me. You're offering it because you're desperate. And that's when he said it. Get out. My mum whispered, Philip, but he cut her off. Get out of my house. I didn't scream. I didn't plead. I picked up my jacket and walked out the front door. Behind me, I heard my mother's sobs. You're a disgrace. My father called after me. A disgrace to this family and everything we stand for. I turned around one last time. I'm sorry you feel that way. But I wasn't sorry that night. I sat alone in my apartment in the West Loop. One last time my phone buzzed. 2 emails stared back at me. One was the partnership agreement, now sent to my personal inbox with a subject line, Make the right choice. Son, the other, was from the legal team handling the $60 million. Acquisition of Ridgecore by Ridgecore Systems. I clicked reply. Confirmed, all terms accepted. Let's move forward by sunrise. The wire transfers would be initiated by sunrise. I'd be worth more than my father's law firm had earned in 3 generations. I didn't call them, didn't text Jessica, didn't explain anything. I packed 2 suitcases and booked a one-way flight destination. Aspen, Colorado, a luxury ski lodge I'd seen online the night before. Timber frame construction, floor-to-ceiling windows, 5 bedrooms, 6 bathrooms, $2.8 million asking price. I called the realtor at midnight. I'll offer $2.5 million cash. No showings, closing in 2 weeks. There was a long pause. Then she said, deal. And just like that, I owned a mountain. The lodge was everything I imagined. Leather furniture, a roaring fireplace, snow falling on pine trees outside the massive windows. No courtrooms, no pressure, no expectations, just silence. For the first week, I skied every morning, read books every night. No meetings, no emails, no when are you joining the firm. Just me and peace. Trevor, my co-founder and best friend, called from Chicago. How's mountain life? Peaceful. Just wanted to let you know. Cloud Vault confirmed the wire. Money hits our accounts in the morning. I paused. You know what that means, right? Trevor said. You're officially a millionaire. I leaned back, watching the snowflakes swirl outside. Yeah, I guess I am. Trevor chuckled. So, when are you telling your parents? I'm not. He paused. Brandon, it's gonna hit the press soon. I know, and I did know. I knew that in a few weeks, the story would break. I knew that soon. My parents would see my face in a headline. Local tech founder sells startup for $60 million. Let them read it. Let them finally realize what my computer games were worth. And when that moment came, I wouldn't be in Chicago. I'd be 10,000 feet above sea level, looking down from the top. 5 weeks had passed since I walked out of my parents' house. 5 weeks of peace, of clarity, of building my next life, while the old one quietly waited for news it never saw coming. That morning, I was sipping coffee on my balcony when I saw the notification. Local tech founder sells startup for $60 million. Chicago Tribune. There it was, my face, front page of the business section. Bold headline, smiling photo taken 6 months ago. Brandon Keane, 27 years old, founder of Ridgecore Systems, the same company my father had once called a waste of time. It was finally public. Everyone would know first. My sister, Jessica, Brandon, what the hell? $60 million. Are you serious? I smiled. Morning to you too, Jess. Don't morning me. Dad and Mum are freaking out. Article at the grocery store. Mum's been crying. Crying about what? About how they spent weeks pressuring you to join the firm while you were sitting on this monster deal. Brandon, they feel like idiots. I paused. Let that sink in. They should feel like idiots. That's not fair, isn't it? They called my life's work computer games. Said I was a disgrace. Kicked me out of the house. Jessica was silent for a second. Where are you? Colorado. Are you coming back? At all? Not for them, Brandon. They want to apologize. Do they? Or do they want to make sure they're still in my will? It was harsh, but true. I didn't answer. Let it go to voicemail. Then I turned off my phone and went skiing, while the Keane household panicked under the weight of sudden shame. I carved fresh tracks into untouched snow. My name no longer. Junior partner in training was now on the lips of every investor in Chicago, too. Months later, I returned, not for them. For business. CloudVault's executive team invited me to consult on their next acquisition. I needed to check in with my staff, and truth be told, I was curious. Still, the tech golden boy, Trevor said, sliding the Crane's Chicago business across the table. Brandon Keane. The man who disrupted law itself, I guess. The media finally caught up. How's Aspen treating you? Like freedom, but I needed to be here. CloudVault wants my opinion on their next integration. Trevor looked at me for a second. You gonna visit your parents? I raised an eyebrow. You think I should? He shrugged. They know now. Maybe they see it differently. Same street, same luxury cars in the driveway, same pristine flower beds. But this time, I wasn't coming for dinner. I parked across the street. My mother, Dana, was outside, planting spring tulips. She looked older, tired, a little lost. For a moment, I considered stopping instead. I drove away. You know they're proud of you now, she said over dessert. Are they, or are they proud of the headline? Jessica sighed. You're always so black and white. They called me a disgrace, Jess, in front of our whole family, said I was throwing my life away. That's not how they see it anymore, because they finally saw a number they respect. Jessica leaned forward. They love you. Maybe they don't show it how you want, but they do, and they regret how they handled it. I looked out at the skyline. All those people, all those families, all those complicated stories. I think they love the version of me that makes them comfortable. But that version doesn't exist anymore. In the end, they didn't need an heir. They needed a mirror, someone who made them feel like their life had been the only right path. I wasn't that, and I never would be. But that night, as I walked back to my hotel suite overlooking the city, I realized something. Sometimes revenge doesn't come in fire and fury. Sometimes it comes in silence, in walking away, in building something so undeniable. They have no choice but to sit in the shadow of what they tried to destroy. 2 years passed like a blur. Ridgecore was now fully integrated into CloudVault's suite, and the tech press still referred to me as the whiz kid who disrupted the legal industry. I did some light consulting, mentored a few rising founders, and took up skiing and photography as hobbies. The Aspen Lodge had become my sanctuary, my escape from expectations, noise, and even recognition. Then one morning, I received a letter, a real one, handwritten, on thick, cream-colored stationery with the Keane and Sons letterhead. The envelope had my name on it in Philip's neat handwriting. Dear Brandon, I don't know if this will reach you, or if you'll even read it, but I need to say this while I still can. I was wrong, not just about Ridgecore, but about you. I saw your success in the news, and for a long time, it only made me angrier. I told myself you'd abandoned us, the firm, the family. But recently, I spoke to one of your former professors at Northwestern. He told me he saw what you built, and he called it revolutionary. That word shook me. Because in our world, Brandon, revolution doesn't happen. It's always precedent, always tradition. I'm sorry for not seeing your vision sooner. I'm sorry for trying to fit you into a mold that never suited you. If you never want to speak to me again, I'll understand. But I hope one day we can talk again, not as father and son in a firm, but as two men who both built something meaningful. Love, Dad, I. Read that letter 3 times. The first with suspicion, the second with tears, the third with silence. It wasn't a perfect apology, but it was real. I didn't respond right away. I needed time. I needed to decide what I wanted, free from guilt or the desire to prove anything anymore. Instead, I took another step forward. I created a foundation. The Keane Initiative, its goal: to fund software startups that disrupted stagnant professional industries: medicine, law, education, logistics. All the places where people were stuck doing things the old way because tradition said so. I poured $10 million into it from my own account. No investors, no board, just me and a few brilliant young minds ready to build one of the first companies. We funded automated diagnostic pre-screening for small-town hospitals, places that couldn't afford big-name AI tools. Another helped streamline family court paperwork for underfunded legal aid clinics. This wasn't about revenge anymore. This was about legacy. Not the legacy my family wanted me to inherit, but the one I chose to create. 6 months later, I went back to Chicago, not for a holiday, not for a confrontation, but because Jessica had just had her first baby, a boy, and, despite everything, I wanted to be there when I walked into the hospital room. Jessica smiled, her husband nodded, and there, sitting in the corner with a bouquet of blue roses, was Philip. He stood when he saw me. His face looked older, softer. His pride was still there, but it no longer wore the armor of control. "Hi, Dad," I said. He gave me a small nod. "Hi, son." That's all it was. But it was enough. Reflective wrap-ups. Sometimes family doesn't see the value of what you build until the world forces them to look. Sometimes they never will. But the most important thing I learned, the thing I hope you never forget, is that the life you build for yourself is worth more than any legacy handed to you. Build your dream. Own your dream, and let your success speak so loudly, even those who doubted you can't ignore it. If Brandon's story made you feel something, hit that like button and share it with someone who's chasing their own path. Have you ever walked away from someone else's dream to chase your own? Drop your story in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to Revenge Reactor, where we turn rejection into redemption and setbacks into satisfaction. Because some stories aren't just revenge, they're revolutions,